Welcome you. Ever wonder what really makes a student click in their learning or why some seem to lose their way?
It's a big question, definitely.
Today on the deep dive, we're tackling that very question. We've got a stack of research looking at what drives students both from, within themselves and from the world around them.
Right. The internal and the external.
Exactly. We're talking about their confidence, what they care about, what they're aiming for, and how the learning environment itself either helps or hinders them.
hmm
The whole picture.
Our mission for you is simple: to give you a clear, insightful understanding of student motivation. Consider this your shortcut to getting a handle on the psychology behind why students succeed or disengage. Okay, let's jump right in and explore those inner sparks that get students going.
Absolutely. Let's start by looking at what researchers call competence-related beliefs. This is really about a student's own sense of how capable they are. It boils down to a few key things.
First, there are their ability beliefs, how good they think they are at different subjects. What's really fascinating is the strong connection we see between these beliefs and how well students actually perform.
Right. The research consistently shows that if a student believes they're good at something, say math, and expects to do well, they very often do. Think of it like a positive cycle.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's not just wishful thinking. Studies have shown that a student's belief in their math abilities strongly predicts how well they expect to do, which then becomes a major factor in their future math performance.
Right, even more than past grades, you said.
Exactly, even outweighing their prior achievement. It's quite something. So for you, it highlights how a student's initial belief in their abilities acts as a powerful self-fulfilling prophecy, influencing not just their effort, but their actual success.
Exactly. Building on that, we have expectancies for success. This is a student's feeling about how well they'll do on a specific upcoming task, like, that history test next week. It's a bit more focused than their general belief about how good they are at history overall. And the research shows this anticipation of success also has a big impact. If you feel like you're going to ace that presentation, you're much more likely to put in the necessary prep work.
That makes total sense. It's like visualizing a good outcome can actually help you get there. And then there's self-efficacy. Now, this is about your belief in your ability to handle a particular task.
Task specific.
So you might feel generally competent in science class, but your self-efficacy would be about whether you believe you can successfully complete that specific lab report due on Friday.
Precisely. And what's really key here is that researchers argue this specific belief in tackling a particular task is actually a stronger predictor of behavior than those more general feelings of competence.
Ah, interesting. More predictive.
Yeah. If a student feels confident they can handle each step of that lab report, they're more likely to choose to work on it, keep trying even when they hit snags, and, ultimately finish it. Studies have really backed up the power of this task-specific confidence.
So it sounds like fostering a sense of, I can do this, both in a general sense and for specific challenges, is a really crucial ingredient in the motivation mix for you. Now, what happens when students face setbacks? That's where control beliefs come in, right?
Exactly. The initial idea here was locus of control, whether a student believes they have control over what happens to them in their learning, or if it's all down to external factors like luck or the teacher.
Right. Internal versus external.
Yeah. And the research showed that students who felt they were in charge of their own success, an internal locus, tended to achieve more.
That aligns with our intuition, doesn't it? If you believe your effort makes a difference, you're more likely to put in the effort. But the understanding of control evolved, didn't it? It got a bit more nuanced.
It did. Researchers expanded on this, looking at the reasons students give for their successes and failures, attributions. And then there's this interesting idea of unknown control, that feeling of being unsure why things are happening in your learning.
Unknown control, like you just don't know what makes a difference.
Pretty much. And what's quite revealing is that when students don't understand what influences their academic outcomes, they tend to achieve less, even compared to those who think external factors are in charge. It's like feeling lost at sea without a map for you.
So that uncertainty itself can be really demotivating. It's like trying to solve a puzzle when you don't even know the rules.
Exactly. And building on this, researchers link these feelings of competence and control to more fundamental human needs for feeling autonomous and connected.
Okay.
The big takeaway for you is that when students believe they have a say in their learning journey, that their efforts matter, and they understand why they succeed or struggle, They're much more likely to do well and persevere when things get tough.
Okay, so we've looked at whether students believe they can do something and whether they believe they're in control of their learning. But even if both those things are in place, a student might still think, why should I even bother? That's where subjective task values come into the picture, I imagine.
Precisely. Subjective task values are all about a student's personal reasons for engaging in a learning activity, their own answer to the why bother question.
Ah, the why bother factor.
Right. Research highlights that even if a student feels capable and in control, they might lack the drive if they don't see any value in the task itself for you.
And this sense of value isn't just one thing, right? It's made up of different components. There's how much you actually enjoy the activity, which sounds a lot like intrinsic motivation, doing something simply because it's interesting or fun.
That's right. That's the interest value. Then we have attainment value, how important the activity is to a student's sense of identity or how well it fits with their personal goals.
Okay, like this is important to who I am.
Exactly. And finally, there's utility value, how useful the student perceives the activity to be, perhaps for future studies, their career aspirations, or other areas of their life. This leans more towards extrinsic motivation, seeing the activity as a means to an end.
Got it. So you might not be thrilled about writing essays, low interest value for some, but if you see it as crucial for getting into college, high attainment and utility value, you'll still be motivated to do it.
Spot on.
The research showed these values start to take shape pretty early in a student's academic journey, didn't it?
Yes, research indicates these different aspects of task value can be identified even by 5th grade. And while a student's belief in their abilities might predict how well they perform, these subjective task values are strong indicators of whether they will choose to stick with the subject, like continuing to take those challenging science courses.
Right, the choice part.
For you, this underscores the need for students to perceive some level of interest, importance, or future usefulness to stay engaged long-term.
This is all really illuminating. So we've explored what students believe about themselves and what they value. Now let's consider their why in terms of what they're trying to achieve in their learning. Are they focused on mastering the material, or are they more concerned with, proving their intelligence relative to others?
That gets to the heart of achievement goal orientation. This framework, which has been extensively studied, distinguishes between mastery goals where a student's primary aim is to learn, improve, and master a new skill.
Okay, learning for learning's sake.
Pretty much. And performance goals where the focus is on demonstrating their ability and outperforming their peers.
Right, looking smart compared to others. And these different goals have some pretty significant effects on how students approach their learning, don't they?
Absolutely. Students driven by performance goals might tend to select easier tasks where they're confident they'll look good.
Avoid the risk of looking bad.
Exactly. Whereas those with mastery goals are more likely to embrace challenging tasks, viewing mistakes as opportunities for growth rather than signs of failure. For you, this highlights how a student's underlying goal really shapes their learning behaviors.
And it seems like that emphasis on learning and getting better, that mastery orientation, has some real advantages for staying motivated over time.
Definitely. Research has shown that students with a mastery goal orientation tend to use deeper learning strategies, they're better at monitoring their own understanding, and they're more likely to persevere when they encounter difficulties. They're in it for the long haul of learning.
That makes sense. But it's not always just mastery versus performance, is it? I think I read there are other types of goals, too.
That's right. The field has expanded. Researchers talk about things like work-avoidant goals, just wanting to get by with minimal effort.
Ah, the path of least resistance.
And even different types of performance goals, like wanting to outperform others versus wanting to avoid looking incompetent. It's getting more complex.
It's fascinating how all these internal pieces of academic motivation connect. We've talked about their beliefs, their values, and their goals. Is there a clear dividing line between something like subjective task value and achievement goal orientation? They both seem to be about a student's reasons for engaging.
That's a very insightful question. Researchers suggest that the key distinction often lies in the level of generality. Subjective task values tend to be more tied to a specific task or subject.
Like, do I value this math assignment?
Exactly. Whereas achievement goal orientations represent a student's more general approach to achievement across different learning situations, like am I generally trying to master things or prove myself?
Okay, broader approach versus specific task.
Interestingly, studies have even found that students tend to have similar goal orientations whether they're in academic settings or participating in sports.
Huh. So it's a more general mindset. Okay, so that gives us a solid understanding of the internal factors that drive academic motivation for you. But as we all know, learning isn't a solo activity. Social factors play a huge role, don't they?
Oh, absolutely.
Let's now dive into the realm of social motivation.
Indeed. Social motivation explores both the psychological processes that drive our social behavior and how our experiences of interacting with others influence both our social and our academic lives.
Right, the two are intertwined.
What's quite interesting is that many of the same core psychological concepts we've discussed in the context of academic motivation, things like goals, how we explain our successes and failures, attributions, and our beliefs about our social competence also apply in the social sphere.
So, just as a student might feel confident in their math abilities, academic competence belief, they might also feel confident in their ability to make new friends or work effectively in a group, social competence belief. Makes sense.
Exactly. And just as our academic and social lives are intertwined, so too are our motivations. These different drives can interact in complex ways and sometimes even compete for our attention and energy.
Compete for resources, like time and focus.
Precisely. One particularly useful way to understand this interplay is by looking at the various goals students are pursuing in the classroom.
So rather than just focusing on academic goals like getting good grades, we also need to consider the broader range of things students are trying to achieve at school, including their social goals.
Exactly. The goal content perspective really emphasizes that students in a classroom are juggling multiple goals simultaneously, not just academic ones.
Like what kind of social goals?
Well, they might be trying to build strong friendships, have fun during the school day, or be seen by their peers and teachers as responsible and dependable. Research has even shown that these social responsibility goals can sometimes become a higher priority for students than their learning goals.
That resonates with our own experiences, doesn't it? Feeling like you belong and are respected by your peers and teachers can feel really fundamental.
Absolutely fundamental.
Maybe even a necessary foundation before you can fully engage with learning. And the research also points out that academic motivation itself is socially derived. What does that mean for you?
It means that our success in academic pursuits isn't solely about our individual inner drive. It's also deeply shaped by the social environment around us. Whether we achieve our academic goals often depends on how well our personal goals align with the expectations and values of the important people in our lives, our teachers, our classmates, and our families.
Ah, alignment is key.
Yes, students who are successful often pursue academic goals that are valued and supported by these key social groups.
So wanting to please your teacher or fit in with a group of friends who value academic achievement can actually be a powerful source of academic motivation.
Exactly, and research backs this up. One study found that high-achieving high school students frequently reported pursuing academic goals, whereas students who struggled academically were more likely to show resistance to conforming to the social and behavioral norms of the classroom.
Interesting correlation there.
Another study with middle schoolers found that a larger percentage of high-achieving students were actively pursuing both social and academic goals.
It sounds like effectively managing these different goals is really key for you.
Yeah.
How do students typically balance their social and academic aims?
Well, the research suggests a couple of main ways students coordinate these goals. One is in a hierarchical way.
Hierarchical, like one is more important.
Sort of.
Yeah.
It's where social goals and academic goals are linked in a cause and effect relationship. For example, a student might prioritize getting good grades because they know it will make their parents proud and strengthen that relationship.
Okay, so the social goal, pleasing parents, drives the academic goal, getting grades.
Exactly. In this case, the social goal is the driving force behind the academic one.
That seems like it could be a really strong motivator for some students. If that parental approval is highly valued, it could definitely push them to study hard.
It can be, but the research also indicates that this isn't always the most effective or sustainable approach in the long run for you.
Oh, why not?
Well, studies have found that students who link their academic efforts primarily to external social rewards, like pleasing others or showing off their intelligence, don't always perform as well as those who find intrinsic enjoyment and satisfaction in the learning process itself, those with mastery-linked goals.
Ah, back to mastery goals being more robust.
Right. If academic success is seen merely as a means to gain social approval, the internal drive for learning might be missing, or at least weaker.
That makes sense. If your motivation is purely external, what happens when that external pressure or reward fades away? or if you fail to get that approval.
Exactly. It can be fragile.
Hmm.
The other way students coordinate their goals is in a complementary fashion.
Complementary, meaning they work together.
Yeah, side by side,
Yeah.
essentially. This is where they have multiple independent reasons for engaging in academic work. For a task they don't find particularly interesting, for instance.
Like maybe filling out that worksheet.
Right. They might be motivated by the fact that it's a required assignment. It will help them with their future career goals, and it will also make their parents happy. Having these multiple non-competing reasons can create a more robust overall motivational foundation.
So it's like having a safety net, even if one reason for motivation weakens, the others can still keep you going. That sounds pretty adaptive.
It can be. But the research also cautioned against having too many conflicting goals, right? That could become counterproductive for you.
Right, like wanting to be popular, but also needing quiet time to study.
Absolutely. Trying to juggle too many competing priorities can lead to students feeling scattered, overwhelmed, and ultimately hindering their progress in both their academic and social pursuits.
So while those internal drivers are really important, the social world we navigate in our classrooms and schools has a profound impact on whether those internal sparks of motivation are ignited and sustained or fizzle out. Let's now explore these socialization influences in more detail for you.
Definitely. This is where we examine how our interactions and experiences within the school environment actively shape our motivation. As we touched on earlier, our beliefs about our own abilities, our competence beliefs, are partly formed by the feedback and interactions we have with our teachers and our peers.
Right, what they communicate to us about how we're doing.
What they communicate to us about our competence.
So a teacher's encouraging words after you struggle with a problem, or a classmate genuinely admiring your creativity on a project, can really boost your confidence in those areas.
Absolutely.
Conversely, negative feedback or social comparisons that highlight your perceived weaknesses can chip away at that confidence.
Precisely. And teachers' feedback also plays a significant role in shaping the types of learning goals students adopt, mastery versus performance, and how much effort they're willing to invest.
Okay.
Furthermore, the direct communication of educational goals and expectations from both adults and peers has a considerable influence on what students come to value and strive for in their learning.
It's like a continuous loop, isn't it? Our social environment influences our motivation, which in turn affects our engagement and performance, and this then elicits further feedback from our social environment.
Exactly. The dynamic system. And the learning context itself, the way classrooms are structured, the instructional methods teachers use, and the overall school culture can dramatically impact student motivation.
Right, the context matters hugely.
For example, reward systems that heavily emphasize competition might boost extrinsic motivation for some students, but could actually undermine the intrinsic motivation of others, particularly those who don't consistently come out on top.
The research highlighted how certain teaching practices can really emphasize differences in ability between students. Can you explain that further for us?
Yes, research pointed out that instructional approaches that involve a lot of public individual work, ability grouping where students are visibly separated into different skill levels, and frequent public feedback on performance can all make differences in ability very obvious to students.
So everyone kind of knows who the smart kids are perceived to be.
Exactly. This can lead to a greater focus on external rewards and on trying to outperform others, potentially harming the deeper, more intrinsic motivation to learn, especially for those who don't perceive themselves as high achievers.
It can create a classroom climate where students are more concerned with comparing themselves to their classmates, rather than focusing on their own personal learning and growth. And the way student progress is evaluated also plays a crucial role here, doesn't it?
Absolutely. How teachers assess students and communicate their progress can significantly influence students' beliefs about their own competence, what they value in learning, and the types of goals they set.
For instance.
For instance, publicly displaying grades or progress charts that directly compare students can emphasize ability and create a sense of winners and losers, potentially increasing anxiety and undermining motivation for those who consistently feel like they're not measuring up.
Whereas a classroom that fosters more cooperation and focuses on mastery, where success is seen as achievable through effort and improvement, that sounds different.
It is. It can encourage students to focus on their own learning journey rather than constantly comparing themselves to others. Research has shown that in such environments, students are more likely to view themselves as capable and to have more positive expectations for their future success.
Okay.
This aligns perfectly with the TARGET framework.
Target. What's that stand for?
It's an acronym. Tasks, authority, recognition, grouping, evaluation, and time. It provides a structure for teachers to think about how different aspects of their classroom can all be used to cultivate a focus on learning and mastery.
Ah, neat framework. So give me an example using Target.
Okay, so under tasks, you'd aim for activities that are diverse, interesting and challenging, but achievable. For authority, you might give students some choice and input in their learning activities.
Makes sense. What about recognition?
Recognition would focus on acknowledging effort and progress, not just the final grade or comparing students. Grouping might involve using cooperative learning structures rather than ability grouping.
Right. And evaluation and time.
Evaluation would focus on individual improvement and mastery, maybe using portfolios or self-assessment. And time involves providing flexible time for learning and task completion, recognizing that students learn at different paces.
So, using target principles means designing the classroom environment to foster that mastery orientation and build competence beliefs for you.
Precisely. And a wealth of research supports these connections. There are even comprehensive instructional programs designed around these principles, explicitly aiming to foster mastery goals, encourage social interaction around learning, and use authentic, engaging tasks.
It sounds like creating a really motivating classroom is an active and thoughtful process, and teachers need to be keenly aware of how their instructional choices can impact student motivation.
Definitely.
But the research also suggests that we're still learning about how different teaching strategies interact and what combinations are most effective, right?
That's absolutely right. Teachers often use a variety of approaches, and understanding the ideal balance and how they work together is an ongoing area of research. It's complex.
And students' own views matter too.
Absolutely. Furthermore, it's vital to remember that students themselves have valuable perspectives on what they find motivating, and their voices should be considered.
Okay, so beyond these broad instructional practices, the quality of the interpersonal relationships students have, particularly with their teachers, also seems to be a really significant factor in shaping their motivation.
Absolutely. Hugely important. Research highlights that these relationships can either foster a student's engagement with learning or lead to feelings of alienation and disengagement.
Engagement versus alienation. Stark contrast.
It is. A positive and supportive relationship with a teacher can be a powerful source of social motivation and influence how students approach their learning in the classroom.
The concept of social relatedness came up earlier, that fundamental human need to feel connected to others. How does that tie into a student's motivation in the classroom for you?
Well, research suggests that when students experience a sense of social belonging and connection within their school community, they are more likely to adopt the goals and values promoted by that community, including academic goals.
So feeling like you belong makes you more likely to buy into the school's mission.
Essentially, yes. Conversely, when students feel isolated or disconnected, they may be more likely to reject those goals. Students who actively try to contribute positively to their classroom community, pursuing pro-social goals, often report feeling more integrated and motivated.
And we heard that research found a direct link between middle school students who tried to be helpful and follow rules and their perception of their teachers as supportive and caring. What were some of the key characteristics of those caring teachers in the students' eyes?
Students describe these teachers as being consistent in their expectations and rules,
Okay, clear boundaries.
setting high but achievable academic standards, treating all students fairly, and showing a genuine interest in and concern for their students' overall well-being, not just their grades.
Being a whole student.
Exactly. Interestingly, these same qualities in teachers were also linked to students reporting greater interest in their schoolwork, adopting more mastery-oriented goals, and displaying more positive behaviors in the classroom.
It really underscores the idea that when students feel seen, valued, and supported by their teachers, it creates a positive ripple effect that boosts their overall motivation to learn and engage.
Exactly. Research has also found connections between teachers providing clear structure and guidance and increased student engagement.
So structure helps too, not just warmth.
Right, it's a balance.
Yeah.
And also linking teaching styles that give students some autonomy and voice to greater academic motivation.
Mm-hmm.
Furthermore, studies have consistently shown that students' perceptions of their teachers as caring and supportive are linked to a range of positive motivational outcomes, including setting academic goals and focusing on learning and mastery.
That seems pretty consistent across studies.
Very much so. There's even evidence that drops in students' perceptions of teacher support during the transition to middle school can coincide with declines in their motivation and academic achievement.
Wow, that transition period is crucial.
It really is. The overall picture is clear. Perceived teacher support is a really powerful predictor of how motivated students are.
This has been an incredibly insightful deep dive into the complex world of student motivation, exploring both those internal academic drivers and the really crucial external social and contextual factors at play for you.
It's definitely multifaceted.
It's clear that a student's success isn't just about their inherent abilities, but also about what they believe about themselves, what they value in learning, what they're striving to achieve, and importantly, the environment in which they are learning.
Absolutely. Gaining an understanding of this intricate interplay is so valuable for anyone invested in student success. Whether you are a student looking to enhance your own motivation, a parent supporting your child's educational journey, or an educator striving to create a more engaging and effective learning environment.
Right. It applies across the board.
We've seen that considering both the academic and social dimensions provides a much richer and more complete understanding.
And while we've covered a lot of ground today, the ongoing research in this area continues to refine our understanding. There are still questions being explored, right, about the nuances of different types of motivation.
Definitely. And the precise ways in which social and academic motivations interact.
And the specific influences of various classroom and school level factors on student engagement. It's not all figured out yet.
Precisely. It's a continually evolving field of study, always seeking to provide deeper insights.
So as we bring this deep dive to a close, here's a final thought for you to consider. Thinking back on your own experiences as a learner, or perhaps observing the learning journeys of others, how have these different aspects of academic and social motivations seemed to manifest?
Good question to ponder.
And maybe what might be one small change in a learning environment that you think could make a positive difference in both a student's sense of competence and their feeling of connection to the learning community? Perhaps delving into some of the research we've touched on or simply taking some time for personal reflection could yield some further valuable insights. Thanks so much for joining us on the deep dive.